joining us. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So just to kick it off, I want to say welcome to everybody. I am Shelby Swartz of Battleborn Progress. We are here today because tomorrow, presidential candidate Ron DeSantis will be joining a who's who of some of the most dangerous candidates up and down the ticket for 2024. The annual Basque Fry, hosted by perpetual losing candidate Adam Laxalt, will feature a lineup of speakers who have consistently attacked the results of our elections, undermined our democracy, and fought to take away the rights that we hold dear here in the Silver State, including our right to organize, our right to bodily autonomy, and our right to cast votes in our elections free from intimidation. Firstly, DeSantis' record on abortion rights raises serious concerns for those who prioritize reproductive freedom and women's health care. And throughout his political career, he has fought to undermine the rights of our teachers and the rights of our working family members to unionize. To speak about how wrong Ron DeSantis is for the state of Nevada and for our country as a whole, we're joined by a stellar lineup of speakers from Florida who have seen the firsthand impact of DeSantis' backwards ideals, as well as some folks here from Nevada who can speak to the impact that his election to the highest office in the country would have on our state. We have former Florida Congresswoman Debbie Powell. Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for joining us. We have Macy Haverda, the president of the Wild West Access Fund. We have Florida State Representative Dodie Joseph. Thank you so much, Representative. And we have Dawn Etcheverry, the president of the Nevada State Education Association. We may also be joined by Lindsay Harmon, the executive director of Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. But while we wait for Lindsay to join us, I'm going to go ahead and go to the Congresswoman to speak a bit about her experience, both as a representative from Florida and speaking about Ron DeSantis and how dangerous he would be for our state.
Thank you so much, Shelby. And thank you to all of you for allowing us the opportunity to tell you of what's really happening here in the so-called free state of Florida. My name is Debbie Powell. I'm a former Congresswoman. I served in the U.S. House of Representatives here in Miami. And now I'm working at Giffords as senior advisor fighting to protect our communities from gun violence. Here in Florida, Ron DeSantis is putting the public safety of our communities at risk every single day. Whether it's our freedom to be safe in our communities from gun violence by signing dangerous policies like the permitless carry bill, which is going to goes into effect July 1st and allows for almost anyone to carry a loaded gun in public without a permit, without a training, without a background check, or whether it's the safety of being able to live on an affordable place here in the face of skyrocketing housing costs, or the ability for the LGBTQ community and Floridians to be their true and authentic selves. The people of our state are suffering under the dangerous agenda of Ron DeSantis. And that's especially true when it comes to access to abortion care. For generations, Florida has been a safe haven for reproductive freedom here in the South, as our state's constitution has protected our citizens' right to privacy. But since taking office, Ron DeSantis has tried to change that, appointing 5 new members of our state's Supreme Court with far-right extremists who are now poised to overturn that right to privacy. And it couldn't come at a worse time. Because in April, in the dead of the night and behind closed doors, Ron DeSantis signed a near total abortion ban that outlaws abortion care before most women even know that they're pregnant. This dangerous bill is going to put our lives at risk. And all because Ron DeSantis believes that politicians know better than a woman and those that she trusts to make private healthcare decisions. This outrageous attack on reproductive freedom will hurt the most vulnerable populations here in need of care. We know that it's going to hurt mostly low-income women and those who are coming from minority and marginalized communities. And make no mistake, if he's elected to be president, Ron DeSantis will push for the same near total ban at the federal level. We need leaders that are going to put people's health, safety, and real life needs first and leave these private healthcare choices as a private decision for themselves with their healthcare providers and their families. But it seems like politicians like Ron DeSantis believe that they know what's best for us. Nevada, this is your future if Ron and his extreme agenda enter the White House. I am proud to stand here today on the side of access to essential healthcare services, to stand on the side of women as a mom of two girls who deserve to make decisions about their own futures, and to stand on the side of freedom for all of us to keep the government out of our bedrooms and out of our exam rooms, because we all deserve the freedom to be healthy, prosperous, and safe. Thank you so much. I was asked to give a few words in Spanish. Estoy aquí muy agradecida como una latina inmigrante que vino de Sudamérica y sirvió en el Congreso Federal de los Estados Unidos representando un distrito aquí en Miami. Mi nombre es Debbie Mucarcel Powell y quiero hablarle específicamente a nuestra comunidad latina en Nevada acerca de lo que está sucediendo aquí bajo el gobernador Ron DeSantis. Desafortunadamente, el gobernador Ron DeSantis está poniendo en riesgo la seguridad de nuestras familias aquí en el estado de la Florida. Él firmó una ley sumamente peligrosa que permite que casi cualquier persona pueda portar armas en público sin licencia, sin entrenamiento y sin verificación de antecedentes, que está poniendo en peligro a nuestros hijos. Él también firmó varias leyes que han resultado en un costo de vida muy alto, específicamente para poder vivir aquí en el estado de la Florida. Y está violando la Constitución del estado de la Florida, tratando de intervenir en las decisiones de una mujer para poder decidir cuándo quiere comenzar su familia y cuándo no. Estas son decisiones privadas que debería de tomar una mujer con su familia, con su doctor y con su Dios. Y por eso estoy agradecida de poder compartir con ustedes esta información. Nevada, por favor, pongan mucha atención. No podemos permitir que una persona tan extremista que pone la política enfrente de las necesidades de los americanos llegue a la Casa Blanca. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Next, we will go to Macy Haverda, the president of the Wild West Access Fund.
Hello. So I guess I would really quickly just like to talk to everyone about the Wild West Access Fund and make sure everybody knows what it is we do. We were started in June of 2021. So we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary, and what a wild 2 years this has been. We went from thinking we were going to maybe help 10 people a year, maybe 20 if it was a really big year. But of course, pretty soon after we created our organization, Texas signed SB 8 into law. SB 8 was the copycat law, is the copycat law where SB 8 is the law that was punishing people for seeking abortions, and then there were copycat laws that were further enacted by other states. Pretty quickly, we had to pivot and start seeing people coming from out of state. We've seen people since coming from most of the states around the country where they have banned abortion. For the most part, we're talking about states like Texas and Utah and Arizona. That's where the most states that we're seeing people from, but Florida's not out of the question. Thankfully, Florida has a lot of really great organizations on the ground. They do a lot of really great things. They make sure that the people in their state are able to seek care however they see fit, but we are afraid of the potential future in which we may not be able to provide that support anymore. While we're a C3 organization, we don't endorse candidates or campaigns. We do exist at the reality and whim of elected officials. So we do stand against anyone of any party, of any gender, anything like that, where they're, or any company, any corporation, where they are arguing against people's rights. Lots of people have abortions for lots of reasons. None of them are anyone's business but themselves and their family and their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Macy. Next, I'm going to go to Florida State Representative Dodie Joseph.
Difficulties here. Here we go. Hi, everyone. I am State Representative Dodie Joseph, and I have the honor and privilege of representing Florida's 108th district. So where do I start with our governor, the tyrant of Tallahassee? So I am proud to be here today as a vociferous advocate for our workers, of our union labor, and the freedoms that we deserve to live our version of the American dream. Because the truth is, Governor DeSantis, does not believe in freedom, and he certainly does not believe in doing what's right for workers. See, Florida's dirty little secret is that our state is in the midst of an affordability crisis at all levels, whether we're talking about housing or healthcare, and our governor is making things worse every day with the policies he and the supermajority in the legislature continue to pass. Our housing costs are out of control. We have the highest property and auto insurance rates in the country. Our utility bills are running up like crazy. Thanks to a tax on immigrants, the cost of our goods and services are skyrocketing, and our wages are some of the lowest in the entire nation, whether you're talking about in the education industry or just about any other industry. Why is that? Well, because the governor is bought and paid for by billionaires and corporate elites who continue to fight his campaign, and they fight against and suppress worker wages. So when we talk about what's going on here, I believe, and I know that Nevadans believe that everyone, no matter their background, no matter the color of their skin, where they were born, who they choose to love, deserves the freedom to live healthy, prosperous, and safe, and to earn a living wage for their family. But throughout this time, as a politician, Governor DeSantis has tried to divide us by putting his own political ambitions and corporate donors ahead of what's best for the people he was elected to serve. Instead of focusing on the needs of Floridians, Governor DeSantis persistently puts himself and his political ambitions first, and the needs of Floridians always come last. This year, he took it a step further, passing one of the worst union-busting laws in our nation's history, making it harder for unions to organize and to band together to collectively bargain for higher wages and the better benefits that they deserve, which happen to be enshrined in Florida's Constitution. Whether we are cleaning, workers are cleaning hotel rooms, cooking in restaurants, or helping to build a new road, educate our children, union workers deserve the right to be able to organize and be paid the wages that they deserve and to advocate for safe environments. Nevada, now is the time to fight back and tell Ron DeSantis that you do not want his anti-worker, anti-union, anti-freedom agenda in your state. While DeSantis wants to make our personal medical decisions for us, police who we love and what we learn, and attack the people striving for a better future, we are focused on the real issues facing everyday people, like lowering the cost of housing and healthcare, increasing wages, fighting for equal rights for everyone, and ensuring that we all have the freedom to live in our own American dream. Because that, we stand together, and when we stand together, we win. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Joseph, for joining us. We also know a thing or two here about a governor who is bought and paid for by his wealthy elite donors. We have Governor Lombardo, who will also be at the Basque Fair tomorrow alongside Governor DeSantis. And it is just such a disappointment that these are the folks who hold our freedoms and our state's future in their hands. That being said, speaking of our state's future, I'm going to go to Dawn Etcheverry, president of the Nevada State Education Association, to share her thoughts.
Thank you. My name is Dawn Etcheverry, and I'm a music teacher currently serving as the president of the Nevada State Education Association. The NSCA is the Nevada affiliate of the National Education Association, which is the largest labor union in the country. We know Governor DeSantis may not like to hear that, but it is true. Nevada is a strong union state with incredible advocates in every county. NSCA's Time for 20 campaign led to a recent legislative session where the number 20 was on everyone's mind. Our advocacy directly led to a 21% increase for our traditional neighborhood public schools over the next 2 years. But today we are here because of a Florida man, Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis has some interesting ties to Nevada. His former roommate is Adam Laxalt. It seems like they may have had some late night chats about who could be more anti-union and more anti-public education. Fortunately for Nevada, Adam Laxalt has never gotten the opportunity to implement these terrible policies. Unfortunately for Florida, Ron DeSantis has. These days, every other word out of Governor DeSantis' mouth seems to be woke. But here's a wake-up call for the governor. Nevada educators don't want to Florida our Nevada. So let's talk about DeSantis' attack on the freedom to learn. Every student of every race and in every place deserves the freedom to learn from a quality educator in a safe and just public school. Unfortunately, DeSantis has a record showing that he cares more about his political career and agendas than our students. Florida has the most sweeping set of restrictions on classroom discussions about race and gender in the nation. Let's talk about some of these horrible, misguided, and quite frankly, hateful policies that trample on the freedom to learn. When DeSantis calls his effort the parental rights bill, let's just call it what it is, the Don't Say Gay bill. This law is about hate and nothing more. This bill prohibits the freedom to discuss sexual orientation and gender identity in schools. All this bill tends to do is target our LGBTQ+ students, who are some of the most vulnerable in our communities and in our schools. DeSantis' Individual Freedom Act whitewashes history by barring teachers from teaching lessons that would make students feel guilty, anguish, or any other form of distress due to their color, race, sex, or national origin. A great public education reflects and celebrates students' identities and their experiences and the culture to meet students where they are and prepare them for the real world. Books are for all of us. Educators work closely with parents every day to provide age-appropriate lessons and books that their students need to thrive. Politicians like Ron DeSantis are working to deny students a high-quality education by lying about what is taught in school and calling for a book ban. Whatever our color, background, or zip code, we want children to have a quality education and access to books that impart honesty about who we are, integrate how we treat each other, and the freedom to learn and pursue our dreams. Let's be clear. Governor DeSantis is narrowing the scope of education so that his own political policies are replicated in every classroom at every level in Florida. Governor DeSantis not only works against freedom to learn, he is also working against workers and the freedom to join a union. With DeSantis, the working people always lose. Whether it is Disney, public education as a system, or unions, if you stand up against DeSantis, he will retaliate. And we're seeing how that works each and every day in Florida. As the representative was speaking about SB 256, designed only to union bust. You can't tell me you believe in education and actively work against teachers when they join a union to advocate for themselves and for their students. This law will make it harder to bargain for better pay and working conditions for workers that unions represent and those who yet to join. Things are messy in Florida, and teachers are being pushed out, and that's all part of DeSantis' plan. We're proud to stand with the Florida Education Association in their lawsuit against the governor's anti-union and anti-worker laws. What DeSantis has failed to realize is educators will always stand up for their colleagues, our schools, and most importantly, our students. We are always union strong. NEA members from all over the country have and will continue to travel to Florida to help ensure members can continue being members of their union. And that is why we cannot Florida our Nevada with these terrible anti-worker and hateful policies of Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis is denying students in Florida a high-quality education by lying about what is taught in schools and instituting book bans. He stokes racial and social division to further his career and political agenda at the expense of public school students and union workers. And he tries to whitewash history and censor ideas, stories, and people, and the people he doesn't like. We don't do that in Nevada. Nevada has rejected Adam Laxalt and his policies for the last 2 cycles. We certainly don't want his former roommates' policies either. His policies are so bad and so hateful that the NAACP, LULAC, and HRC have issued travel advisories for Florida because it is openly hostilities towards African American, Latino, and LGBTQ plus communities. Today, we come together to say no more to the bullies and the politicians who try to distract from real solutions needed to address challenges in public schools today. Thank you for the invite, Shelby.
Of course. Now I want to go ahead and open it up to press. If anybody in the viewing room wants to go ahead and either raise your hand or put your question in the chat, we can go ahead and get those answered. I don't see any hands raised. Anders, am I missing anything? Oh, I do see a hand raised now. There we go.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome. Lucia Starbuck with KNR Public Radio. Is there anything that I guess we've chatted a lot about like culture war stuff. I guess any issues you're expecting DeSantis to address that are Nevada specific tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we've seen and heard so many similarities between Governor Lombardo and Governor DeSantis that I'm sure there will be some common thread there on making sure that they, don't pass legislation or sign legislation that would be good for renters or low-income Nevadans or Nevadans of color. I do think that Governor DeSantis coming here and speaking with this lineup does signal that they do see there's a possibility for more of a right-wing push here in Nevada. But I want to go ahead and also open this up to Macy or Dawn or the Congresswoman or the representative and see what any of you think.
I can tell you a couple of things that you'll probably have running your way, whether he says them tomorrow or not. One of the things that we're seeing coming out of the Republican Party is renewed and new voter suppression methods, right? So some of the things that we're seeing include trying to depress the youth vote. Some states are looking at raising the age. Some are looking at restricting access to polling places in college towns, anything to suppress the youth vote. But it's a double-pronged approach. So one is suppressing the vote, but the other part of it is indoctrination. That indoctrination comes in the form of structural policies that attack our education system at all levels, from K through 12, which whether it's you're talking about the Don't Say Gay bill, and I want to be clear, when we talk about these culture wars, it's not just Don't Say Gay. They use that as the cover to get people's guards down, because for some people, they're okay with you attacking the LGBTQ community, but then they then use that to attack all kinds of diversity in education. In Florida, if we're any example of what's to come, books that talk about Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Roberto Clemente, anything that's quote unquote diverse, they set it up so that that can be challenged and it's removed. And when they talk about woke, they know exactly what woke is. It's not this thing they're trying to rebrand it as. It's the concept of identifying and recognizing structural inequities within the system and trying to do something about it. So we see that in education. You see that with the attacks on unions. You see that with attacks on employment. We have some of these right-wing thought leaders coming out of California that have taken root in Florida and given power by DeSantis to propagate this quote unquote anti-woke agenda that really is designed to roll back all of the gains that we've gotten from the civil rights movement, whether you're talking about in education, but also in employment, right? So they're decimating our traditional public school systems to empower and defund school systems so that those funds are redirected to private places where they can discriminate at will. So I'll just stop there.
I want to add something that I don't know if Nevadans are aware, but when Ron DeSantis was in Congress, he was one of the founders of the Freedom Caucus, which really pushes the most extreme agenda, that caucus in Congress. I know it really well. But one of the things that he did is he supported the efforts to turn Nevada into a nuclear waste dump. So I would suggest for reporters to ask him if he would support to store nuclear waste at the Yukon Mountain. I know some of my colleagues in Congress have been fighting against that, and I think it's something very important for Nevadans to also know. I can tell you what he won't discuss. He will not discuss how he supports a full-on open carry bill here in the state of Florida. He has said that he would sign that if the legislation would come to his desk. He will try and blame immigration on the lack of safety at the border. He has actually violated state and constitutional law. There's several courts right now that have sued Ron DeSantis for violating human rights for those immigrants when he pulled that stunt that using state taxpayer dollars to ship migrants from Texas to states, not only in Martha's Vineyard, but also to California. And I think that it's important for Nevadans, as it was mentioned already before, that his longtime friend, Adam Laxalt, has actually been the face of the big lie in Nevada. So does he support the big lie that has been filled with disinformation and that has incited violence in this nation? I think it's important to ask that question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat from Carly from the Nevada Independent. Are there any newly passed laws from the Nevada legislative session that we think they'll discuss tomorrow? I want to say off the top, and then I'll invite Macy and Dawn to fill in here about other pieces of legislation they might think might be top of mind. I do think that Governor Lombardo did end up signing some quality legislation that I don't think Ron DeSantis would be very happy with. He signed into law SB 163, which is Senator Scheibel's bill to ensure that gender affirming care is covered by insurance companies. Not something that I think Governor DeSantis would be very happy about. He also signed into law SB 131. This is relevant to Macy's work, which will create protections for abortion providers providing services to folks coming to Nevada from out of state. There were some really great bills that a lot of advocates on the ground worked for that Governor Lombardo did end up signing. I think if they do talk about any bills outside of SB1, the stadium scam bill that the governor signed into law last night, that is yet another multi-million-dollar handout to billionaires to just drive home the point that Governor Lombardo is bought and sold by the wealthy elite. I think they'll probably have more in common talking about the bills that the governor here vetoed. He actually vetoed 3 bills that we worked very hard on: SB 171 to prevent folks who have committed a hate crime from purchasing a gun for up to 10 years. He vetoed that. AB 355 to prevent the purchase of automatic weapons by Nevadans under the age of 21, and then AB 354, which would prohibit guns at election sites. All quality gun safety, gun violence prevention bills that we worked really hard on with our partners here in the state that the governor vetoed. I think that they might, go down that road, talk about all of the things that Governor Lombardo was able to kill, that go hand in hand with the kind of agenda that Governor DeSantis has been pushing in Florida, especially as it comes to gun violence prevention. It sounds like there are some moves that the governor in Florida has made that do not prioritize community safety. Macy, Dawn, any bills that you want to touch on that you think the governor
I think we'll also hear a conversation about AB 400, which was the voucher bill, which, thanks to our partners at Battleborn and the advocates from the education, we were able to kill all voucher bills this session. And I think we'll see some comments about liberal teachers not doing what's best for children, even though we know that the majority, 90% of our children are educated in the public schools, and that's where the funding needs to go.
Yep, that is correct.
Sorry, I of course clicked a random link while I was trying to unmute. No, I mean, I can't really speculate on what people are going to talk about, right? But I think that I just want to uplift that SB 131, which was the bill that codified Governor Sisolak's executive order. Sorry, these are lots of legalese words that I don't love using in my day-to-day life. That really protected people traveling from out of town, protected the abortion providers themselves, protected us, with us being abortion funds and volunteers and people who are helping support people get to their appointment and be able to afford their appointment. we appreciate that that was passed into law and that that remains a law now. Just hope that nothing changes with that in the coming years.
Yeah. Awesome. Next, we will go to Yvette. I see that you have your hand raised. There you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, Macy just answered that question, which had to do about what we just passed regarding abortion and codifying former Governor Sisolak's executive order, and what kind of effect do you think that is going to have in the next year as we prepare for the presidential election?
Yeah, and I don't mind speaking a tiny bit more of that. Before the executive order was ever written, you know, one of the things we had to do right after Roe v. Wade was overturned, after the Dobbs decision, is a lot of us, and us being funds across the country, we had to seek counsel and representation to make sure that we were able to provide care from people from different states. We specifically had to hire a team of lawyers to look at different cases coming from out of Arizona, out of Texas, stuff like that. So it was a really messy time, created really just to make mess, created just to make unease, uncertainty, all kinds of things, just to make it harder for people to access their care. So what I do appreciate about that is that we don't have to worry about it anymore. And we have the answer. We can tell people who call us, we can help you.
And I'll just chime in to give the contrast with what Governor DeSantis did in Florida. So this last legislative session, we passed, not we, the supermajority, and we fought against it as Democrats in the House, passed a 6-week abortion ban, one of the most stringent in the country. And this was after they had already passed a 15-week abortion ban that had no exceptions in that prior version. So while some states are recognizing the impact of these healthcare consequences on real people, real women, real families, the Republican Party by DeSantis here has taken a very opposite approach. So making that contrast in what you have in your state and what your state has requested versus what's going on here is very different. There are efforts in Florida to have a people-centered movement to overturn that, but the legislature, under the direction of DeSantis, has made it clear where they stand.
Thank you so much for that, Rep. Joseph. All right. Next, we have a question in the Q&A chat from Michael Moline. How receptive will Nevada be to what DeSantis is selling, do you think? I want to open this up to Macy and Don again. Y'all are here on the ground. I personally believe that Governor DeSantis speaks to a very particular segment of the voting population here. I think that there are some issues that are truly bipartisan in their support here. And by that, I mean abortion. Abortion is widely popular. I think that there is a reason why Governor Lombardo has had to, sign bills like SB 131 into law, because it would be wildly unpopular for him to not, and to put those rights up for question. So I think that is one area where, we are a little bit fortunate here in Nevada to have Governor Lombardo instead of a Governor DeSantis. Macy, Don, anything you guys want to say about how receptive you think Nevada will be to Governor DeSantis?
I think there's a reason you find that his meeting is in a very rural county and not for the state, because the state speaks loudly against a lot of the things that the governor stands for. And so where he's going, they are going to be very receptive, but it'll be a small portion of our state.
I mean, I think I always go back to the fact that Nevadans really just don't like being told what to do. We have a really strong independent spirit. That's why, they're called battle-born progress, right? Like the battle-born state. So that's just something, that we always kind of think about here, is just people want to be able to do what they want to do what they want, right? Like I used to live in New Orleans and people used to say something like, do what you wanna. That's kind of a similar vibe here. And so I think that's always kind of hard. It's a hard sell for people.
Yeah, I also think if the track record of Governor DeSantis's former roommate, Adam Laxalt, has anything to say about the reception that Governor DeSantis might see here on a broader scale. I don't think that he is somebody that Nevadans would be very warm to. But maybe that's wishful thinking. We'll see. We'll see how tomorrow goes. We'll see how 2024 goes. All right. Any other questions that folks would like to ask? If not, we will go ahead and let folks go. I want to close out just by saying a few short remarks. That tomorrow there may be some ludicrous things said. There may be some things said by the governor or by Adam Laxalt that are not representative of our state, that we do not want to have here in our state, and that we hope Nevadans will always stand up to, especially in terms of racism and fascism that we will likely see embodied tomorrow. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.